Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Angie Sánchez, soy
Good
directora.
afternoon, everyone. I'm Angie Sanchez. I'm the director with Conversacio. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today with us in this very important talk for our Latinx community. I would like to start by talking a little bit more about this community talks that we're having. We'd like to promote a safe place so we can talk about key subjects that affect our economy, our communities, and which steps we can take together and which actions may we implement to move forward. Before we introduce the panelists, I'd like to introduce you to Marcy, my partner, who's gonna be talking about Corazon y Helseberg and about what we do as an organization. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. I'm Marcy Flores. I manage programs in Corazon y Helseberg, and for those who don't know what our organization is about, we're a nonprofit who organizes community events such as Dia de los Muertos, classes, adult education, GED preparation, food dispensation here in our community, as well as disaster management activities. Now with the pandemic, we have other resources that we have created a safe place for empowerment, and we build community relationships, and you're all invited to work with us, knowing that we're a resource that you can contact directly via Facebook, so we can support each other, we can support you with the resources you may need. So once again, thank you very much for being here in this community talk today. Thank you, Marcy. So I'd like to start introducing everyone here present tonight. I'd like to welcome Mr. Ezequiel Guzman. Hi, how you doing? Good evening, everyone. Ezequiel Guzman. I'm the president of Latinos Unidos of the Sonoma County region. Our organization was founded in 1966 by 4 campesinos and a priest for years. Now we have been helping the campesinos therein, giving them scholarships, offering health fairs. Every time there's some sort of disaster, we help in whichever way we can, together with other organizations. They're also volunteering like we are. Thanks and welcome. Today we also have with us Melissa Valle. Hi, Valle, Melissa. I work as a spokesperson for Sonoma County, and I'm here to help the community. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for being with us today. We also have Mr. Fernando Torres. How are you doing, Fernando? Good evening, good night, everyone. I'm Fernando Torres. I'm a community worker with Legal Assistance for Rural California. We were also established in 1966, and since then we've been helping low-income families, particularly our families that work in the agricultural sector, as well as similar individuals for a long time now, with legal aid in terms of housing, employment, and today we're going to be addressing other issues, and I'll be giving more information then. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with us. And now we have Jasmine Belola. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate now with Corazon. I am a nurse in Clínica Alianza. I'm here to answer any questions that the community may have. Great, thank you very much. I'd like to take the time to, for those who are watching or listening to us in English, and I would like to hear a live interpretation. Please click the buttons at the bottom of your screen so you can hear this live in English. For those who are following us on Facebook right now and watching, if you have any questions, please add it in the comment section. Or if you feel that you'd like to do a message that is anonymous in nature, you can send it directly to our website, to Corazon. But this conversation is for us. This talk is for those of us who would like to participate. You're welcome to do so. And we're going to start then to talk about COVID-19 and the impact on our Latinx community. We'll talk a little bit about update, COVID testing, their rights in terms of employment and assistance also available to them, and much more. So before we start, I'd like to know a bit more about whether you can share some examples, stories, testimonies, things that you might have noticed with our community, the Latinx community, with co-workers in this time that is so difficult, so trying nowadays. Sakila, you were on mute. Something that matters very much is that this virus is going to change everyone's lives. Our people, our campesino, our agricultural workers, people who live in poverty, are struggling much more than others who are doing much better economically. And what we need to do is that they're having a hard time paying rent, dealing with a reduction in their work hours. People are unemployed and they cannot buy food and cover rent, and the children, the impact that our children are feeling in terms of their education. This online learning via Zoom, for example, is causing a major problem to our children. They're going to fall behind in their schooling, and there's no plan at this time in terms of what is going to be done about them. Some families don't have internet, some don't have social media accounts or access, others don't have a Chromebook or a computer so they can study on. And that worries us very much. It worries and affects the entire community. So what are we going to do together to face this COVID challenge? And what I find to be most important, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is the social events, social gatherings, family gatherings, in terms of passing this virus on to one another. And personally, I have a nephew from Concord. I mean, he had the COVID. He passed it down to his nephew, to her son, to his wife, and this is real. This is happening. And what I'm concerned about is that in our communities, this is happening because of the need that is there. I know people who have the virus now don't want to let their employers know. They don't want to let anyone know that they have the virus because they're going to lose their jobs. And their workmates will also lose work time. And this is a big problem that we need to address. We need to talk about it. And we need to address what we're going to be doing so we can help the economy both financially and as well in terms of health. And Fernando, you and I can talk about this, is that people are not being able to pay rent. The law that was helping landlords in terms of not moving people away from their properties, it's not helping. Now, I wasn't planning on speaking right away, but I do want to mention that we are saying that in terms of need, it's real, and it has many heads, if you will. In terms of housing, I'd like to clarify that sick the program hasn't ended, just to make sure they know. So Angie, perhaps I can explain more about that later. I don't want to take away anyone's time, but there are attacks on the community in terms of housing, whether someone has medical coverage or insurance or not is another challenge. And as Sig mentioned, see if what if I raise my hand and say that I have the virus, then they may feel that's going to cause some problems with work and so forth, and it's going to affect this whole community. And the reason why I'm here today is so that people know that they're not alone, that they have all these agencies. They have people like Zeke who is fighting for them on the agricultural sector, and we have Angie, Melissa, everyone here working together for everyone's well-being, because this doesn't only affect them, it also affects us, everyone, our families. We all have families, relatives, our children that are suffering with this. So this takes a team effort, teamwork. So there's no perfect solution, but we need to know, and people need to know, the community needs to know what they have at their disposal, what tools they have, and hopefully they will make use of them. They can reduce the number of parties or that they may want to have, and not for other reason that to avoid some major disaster, not being able to work, them not being able to take care of their children, then passing the virus onto a loved one, say a grandfather that maybe doesn't have the immunity to withstand the illness. So I think, as Zeke was mentioning, this is very important. We need to become aware as a community that all of us have something to contribute. We're all responsible, not just of ourselves, but for the neighbor, or the friend, the relative. And if we don't start and do something about it ourselves, it's going to be very difficult to move forward. I wanted to ask, you know, the Latinos are the most impacted by the virus at the moment. Can you share with us the statistics related to infections in our county, Sonoma County? Of course, yes. Let me look up the most up-to-date information. And as we know, our community, Latinx community, is about 27% of the general population, and we have a 60% in terms of the cases. So therefore, without a doubt, the impact is very high on our community. And here's the information. In terms of cases, we're at 63% of the infections. So, and we are 27.1% of the general population. So obviously, our community is the most affected. And I wanted to highlight Ezekiel's concern, and Fernando also mentioned, in terms of we're all here working and looking for solutions. And I'd like to thank the Legal Assistance for Rural California and everyone has been working with the county for months now to try to find a solution to the different problems that we have faced, and the fact that our community hasn't been able to find sometimes the assistance that they need. So looking forward, we have worked with communities, community organizations such as Corazon to find out what the needs are and see what we can do still to help in that regard. So I'd like to thank each one of you, and I'd like the community to know that this is what we're doing, this is what we're working for, to be able to help you, to support you in the current difficult times. Thank you. Can you share a little bit more about what's happening in terms of testing in relation to the virus, how what is the county doing to make sure that tests are available? And we've also heard that an equity office is being opened. And what will they be doing? Or are they going to be providing the community? Yes, well, the testing is taking place mainly through Optum Serve, which is the service that the state supports in different counties. We also have mobile clinics, which go to different spaces throughout the county, and we not only translate it into Spanish, but there's interpreting for indigenous languages also. And individuals can call, make an appointment for testing. But the recommendation is if someone is feeling ill, though, if they present symptoms, to consult with their medical provider so they can get instructions in terms of what they should do, because sometimes the appointment is not for the next day, so it takes a little while. So we don't want for people to not knowing whether they're ill to continue with their regular or normal activities and go on and not ask for help in a timely fashion. In terms of the equity office, some weeks ago, the creation of the said office for Sonoma County was presented. It's not fully established, but it's going to be taken or presented to the county, and Mrs. Cruz, who is an attorney for years, was selected as the officer or temporary or interim county equity person. And the idea is to understand and resolve these problems that are causing inequity within our community, and the fact that our community is the most affected. So the idea is to see how we can change this so that people and the work that our community typically doesn't become a punishment through which we keep getting ill, and the services that we offer as government do help and don't affect us because of we're a given group, but for these services to help everyone regardless of who it is. This pandemic has been horrible in terms of inequity, bringing up inequity. It has multiplied this matter even more so through this emergency. So we come from a disaster onto another disaster. So the idea is how to move forward, knowing that we're the most affected during the disaster, and the recovery takes many years, and also aware that many will not be able to fully recover. The immediate goal is to establish what equity means within our county. We can't go to a dictionary and just get down a definition. We need to see how it would apply, how these policies would apply directly onto our communities appropriately so we can serve it better. That is part of the immediate mission of our work. So we're working on the creation, implementation of policies and services, and to measure the impact of said measures onto our communities, and to see how we can improve them so that this doesn't affect anyone because of their gender, their race, and so forth. Thank you, Melissa. Talking a bit more about available resources for our families, I'd like to perhaps ask Fernando to talk a little bit more about the rights you were addressing earlier on about housing, work rights, and later, I'd like to hear from Hasmin about resources that are available at this time through Alliance Medical Center. And subsequently, I'd like to hear from Marcy, who has been working with the community individually, one-on-one, supporting those affected by the virus or positive of COVID-19. So Fernando first, talk about housing and community rights. Thank you, Angie. I'm going to try to be brief because I can talk about this forever, but I'd like to make sure I give the opportunity for others to speak. Well, so I'd like for everyone to know that they're not alone, but also that there are procedures that are already in place to protect them, for at least allow them or give them more time to stay at home. As many people call us, and this is a current example. So a renter rents an apartment, a house, and the owner is calling me and they said they want me out by Sunday. They're calling me Monday, Tuesday. I said, no, you do not need to leave. You have rights. There are laws that protect you as a renter, and then we explain to them what these are. So I'm not going to give you details about it, but there are always procedures that at least allow you to buy some time. So they need to inform you by a letter, so in writing. They need to include certain key information in it for it to be valid. So in the order of remotion, to remove someone, it has to be done in a specific manner. In terms of COVID-19, there are two things that are important to keep in mind. Sometimes we receive this calls that says, this already ended, this program already ended last month and so forth. And this is not correct. This is still discussion. Tomorrow they're going to ask whether they're going to extend this. And what am I referring to? It's an ordinance by the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, which what it does is defers the payments until the end of the emergency, once it has been declared as such, and 60 days after that, because we understand and we know it's going to be very difficult for families who have to pay 2 or 3 months accumulated, but that's currently what the law states. So otherwise we have to be in court now and do something about it. Now, with few exceptions, no one is being removed. Sorry, I have allergies. The sheriff needs to receive an order from the court, because without it, nothing's going to happen. I mean, this process is long. There's this issue, this called unlawful detainer, and so there's a process that they're looking into modifying this, but no one knows what's going to happen though. So that's it. I just wanted you to know that, be it through a judicial mean or through the county, there are certain protections, and perhaps what you would like to do is just call us so we can help you, or call others and ask us, this is my situation, what can you do to help us? And that's in terms of housing. Now, in terms of employment, there are some specific protections for agricultural sector workers. What should the employer do or charge me for this? And we receive calls all the time. Sometimes they are selling masks to employees, and instead of just giving it to them, and the water they're being given, it's not good for human consumption, and that's not the right thing that they should be doing. See, the things, and employers should know that that's the case, because it's not good for their employees to be ill. So we need to make sure that everyone knows what the rules are. So if you're an agricultural worker, every employment has to follow some specific rules. The one temperature they need to work, the one they should receive based on that. based on their job and their task. And if you believe that this is not being respected, or if you were fired, okay, I was trying not to give specific examples due to confidentiality rules, but say that someone gets infected, everyone goes home, or I'm not going to hire you again. No, all of that, there's something you can do about. The best thing, we have an 800 line for workers in terms of, well, the number is, I'll share it in the chat so they have it in writing. So 35791. So the number is going to be on the chat, which is free assistance line. Is confidential, and you can call, ask questions if you feel that you're being affected by the employer at this time, or you think you might be in the future, or you simply would like to know what your rights are in terms of COVID. I didn't mention it before, but about it could be an issue with education. So now I'm referring to student rights. And see, here it's not just a matter of students having access to a computer, but also to the internet. So again, there are many rules about this. We know that these districts are trying to do the best they can. This is a new situation we're all facing. But to summarize, there are many tools that you can find on a page that includes everything that and more than what I'm mentioning right now. So employment, housing, anything related to COVID-19. If you need to know more about, just visit that page. And if you have any questions, call us to the local office that closest to you. And we work within Sonoma area with agricultural workers, but we're all throughout California. This is public information that you can share with your computers. With the community, sorry. And 707-528-9941 is the phone number for the office in Santa Rosa. And that covers this area. And if you call us, we'll be able to give you more specific information about how the COVID can affect you, your family. And please follow the guidelines that the government is issuing. We need to all do our part and collaborate, contribute to reduce the mortality or infection rates and everything that I've mentioned. All of those rights are for those who are affected, but let's try not to get to that point. Let's try to be infected. So let's just stay home, work as we can from home. But please continue protecting yourself, your family, and we're here to support you with what you need. Thank you. Thank you, Fernando, for the information. For those who are listening to us or watching us live on Facebook, the resources that Fernando was mentioning, we're going to share them in the comments section, as well as the link. I'll send you to the website of this group. We'd like to hear a little bit more from Asmin. Can you tell us what you have noticed in terms of the virus or COVID? As a nurse that you are, what resources does the community have at their disposal? Yes, our clinic is doing a lot to make sure that we can provide testing, particularly when the person is symptomatic. So it matters very much that you contact the clinic, speak to one of the nurses who is there available to go over your symptoms, as well as to determine when the best time for the testing may be. A question that I have noticed that many patients ask me from our community is, why is testing taking place when symptoms are not there present? So, and the answer is that we want to make sure that we're not doing the testing too early when the virus hasn't had enough time to be present in the body so that it can be detected. So we might have a false or a negative result, but the person may be with the virus and it can pass it on to another person. So if there are symptoms such as fever, coughing, lack of sensation, lack of smell, among other symptoms, if you have those, please call a clinic, talk to a nurse about getting tested. And we're also seeing that if the symptoms continue worsening, we can do a consultation with a provider for you to receive medication or simply just to answer any general questions that you may have regarding COVID. Our clinic is working also in a distribution of food on August 13th from 2 to 5 p.m. And Alianza de Hillsburg is the clinic that's going to be where this going to be taking place. So fruit, vegetables, free of charge will be distributed. And if you need food, please contact us. Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to give now Marcy the floor so she can share a bit more about the assistance and the help that Corazon is offering the community in terms of COVID. Because many have called us and asked us, is there any help in terms of helping pay the rent or our bills? And I've seen you working. I see all the effort that you put in all day long, on the weekends. You're always working, making sure that everyone that has been affected by this, and those who have been COVID positive, and receive food, that they can get assistance with filling out forms related to rent, and how they can get assistance. How can they apply? Yes, thank you, Angie. Corazon Hillsburg team, it's a team effort. It's not just me. So we're all in close contact or communication with the community or those who work in Windsor, Hillsburg, Kaiserville. And if anyone has been COVID positive, we have been delivering food there where they are staying, and we're also referring them to other resources. I'm sorry, there's a fly here, and that's why I'm here moving my hands. My apologies. And we're also talking to employers in case they need help in terms of their rights. We'll see CRLA, that's Fernando's organization. We're referring to them. Ezekiel's agency also, because many people need help now. They cannot pay their bills, electricity, gas, water bills. And those who live in Hillsburg are receiving a discount, and we're helping them with filling out the application. And anything we see, if family needs help with paying their bills, we are helping them apply to any discount available. If it's in terms of rent, through Conversacio Hillsburg, we do everything by phone. They need to come with us. The physical office is closed, but we're doing everything over the phone. And we're referring people to reach for home also here in Hillsburg, so they can help them find housing. Also, we refer to Salvation Army and many other organizations and agencies that are helping people during COVID times. And again, if anyone needs help, you can call us at 395-0938. That's our office phone number. Or you can send us a Facebook message if you need help. You can also contact us via Instagram, I believe. So we're there available to help with anything you may need. We're here to help you. Marcia, I wanted to add, because many people would say, so we have been affected by the virus, but I also wanted to give information about many different programs and resources that we can refer you to. But specifically, though, if you're interested in applying for a Corazon Hillsburg assistance for your bills or monetary assistance, that is, we are analyzing case by case basis because there are some funds available, but they are for people who have already conducted their testing and they were positive for COVID. Because we know if that person was COVID positive, they're going to have to stay home for at least 2 weeks and they won't be able to work. So there may be someone that Ezekiel refers to us that you can tell us this campesino is not going to receive payment for 2 weeks if they didn't have accumulated vacation time or personal time or sick time. So cases like that, those are the ones that we're trying to help the most because we know there's going to be the most impacted during this type of crisis because they're going to have to stay at home. Now, if there's a family in which one either member of the family has been infected, everyone needs to stay home, right? Because what we don't want is for anyone to let's be tested positive to go out and work. No, but to stay at home, to be safe, and because otherwise, if we're COVID positive and we go out there and continue working, we're just going to infect others. So our ways of saying and say it's okay, you're COVID positive. How can we help you? You just stay at home. We'll help you, so that you don't have to worry about the rent. If you receive a letter that says COVID positive, then call us. Now, if you were not detected as positive, we might still be able to help you in another way. And you may please add, it's important for people to know that that's the case, but also that everyone has access to funding or assistance for illnesses. Now, even if the employer says that sort of aid is not available, no, it does exist again. It could be 3 days, but during COVID, as an emergency, under certain classifications, they may receive up to 80 hours of their work pay that may be covered. So it's not just when you are ill. If a family member, your son, your children, again, so just because I'm not at work, I'm not working, doesn't mean that I'm going to lose my money, or maybe because I'm undocumented, I cannot receive the help. No, we can address all of that. So that 800 number that I shared, please use it. Please call us because in many cases related to agricultural workers and supermarket workers, workers in restaurants, and can receive up to 80 hours of pay. And based on your situation, specific situation, there may be other categories that may also help supplement your income while you go past this emergency. So please seek help and find what you could be done. Also wanted to ask Zeke a little bit more, Ezekiel. I mean, you work with many campesinos or farm workers, and we know that much money still needed, resources are much needed for them. What have you noticed about it? What resources have you seen that they still need? And we're also being asked on Facebook, Diana asked, if we have any reason, do we know why the Latino community is the most affected? Which I think brings us back to what was said at the beginning, which is that many of us continue having parties, or they go out without wearing a face mask. What can you tell us about those points? First, let's address the farm worker, campesino people situation. Many people know that we have different type of workers. So 828 is one program that comes from Mexico with a contract, and all of those workers live in this housing, 10, 15 people in a single home together. Transportation on small buses with 15 passengers, up to 20 passengers in it, and many times they're not taking precautions in terms of cleaning the buses, washing their hands, putting on their masks. So that's happening. We also know that poverty makes us forces us to live together. I know a place where 25 people live there because of the cost of housing here. I've seen these 800 square feet homes where 8 people live. And so poverty is causing, is affecting our entire community. Now, there are other small things, as I was mentioning before, that also help. I mean, say, our communities have to go to laundry mats to wash their clothes. And I've gone to some of these places, these laundromats, and I see no caution signs. And I've seen our people there washing their clothes, and no one was cleaning the dryers, cleaning after use, or having any hand sanitizer available. So those poverty-stricken places is where infection is high and affecting our community, and all of us here as leaders in the county must act on this and see what's very essential in terms of the worker. Well, addressing essential workers. How do you say essential in Spanish? So we need essential workers, and we need them. We need our farm workers. We need our workers in our restaurants, in our hotels. So all of those people, all of those workers are poor. And they need to do things because they need to sustain themselves out of poverty. And that's really sad. And Radio Bilingüe in Fresno, 100 people died recently, and of those, 70 were workers. That's the ones I was mentioning. So much of our people live in this culture of poverty, and that is what's affecting us in this regard. That's what I see. That's how I see it. And of course, there are gatherings. I was speaking with some winery owners. They say, why do workers get together and to drink beer after their work day? Because it's part of a culture. After working hard, the first thing they want to do is have a beer. And when these farm workers get together, it's also for their mental health. And they want to share with others what they're going through. And so these songs are very important, but we still need to teach them, though, how to get together, how to gather, but keep 6, 7, 8, 10 feet distance from each other. Someone was telling me recently, he said, "Kid, we're poor. We barely are here to work. And you're gonna take away what keeps us alive?" And we need to keep that in mind as community leaders. How are we going to take into account our people's community and help them overcome this COVID-19 crisis? Which is why I'm working in the northern part of the county with a program called La Familia Sana Comienza en su Casa. So healthy families start at home. And sharing the message in terms of what they can do themselves to not infect their families and share resources with them. And about housing, I wanted to say that I was at a meeting recently. A workforce with the county is a workforce recovery group. And someone mentioned there that they expect to have more than 6,000 families who are going to be losing their homes in the future, the near future. I don't know, Fernando, if you heard about that, but that's what they expect. 6,000 families in that area, and I tell you, that's going to be some serious stuff. I sure hope not, Ezekiel. I mean, yeah, we can hope, and that's one thing, but reality is another. And yes, if things don't change, if we don't set better protections, if we don't have support for the community to be able to face what is about to come, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, I don't want to be negative, but we need to be realistic. What is about to come, it's going to be very difficult for these families. I mean, having to pay 5-6 months of rent, backlog. I mean, I wouldn't be able to pay it myself. I don't know who can. So it's going to be very difficult for many families to do this. And I just hope that those who have faith that there's something for them, that it's not just something that'll be on paper or that's just them being informed about something, but that they are actual actions that will help them move forward and overcome this. But we don't have a response yet, not at this time. So let's hope that whatever happens will actually help the community. And there's much that the ZIC and other community members or organizations can try to do to help, but we cannot help everyone. That's not real. That's not the reality out there. So yes, the future is grim, but let's hope that there are more solutions than challenges moving ahead in order to help individuals who are facing difficult situations like this. So we need to be ready in advance in terms of what we can do, as Marcy was mentioning too, in terms of financial help. So more of that, I hope that we can do to have more funding so we can help these causes. Thank you, Fernando. I also wanted to ask anyone if you have any resources you may like to share before we end this dialogue. So, is there anything else that anyone wants to share now? I wanted to mention that we have a page of resource for migrants. I already shared it on the chat, and there you find information related to the help, such as Fernando's organizations and one Familias Seguras. There's also a program by the county for migrant challenges that's not COVID specific, but it's for when a family is having a hard time in one area, they can push forth in other areas either. So for those who don't want to use the internet, you can call a phone number right there was shared. You can call 24 hours a day. There you can find about different resources, food donation, and other resources that someone may need. You can also get referrals if that's the case. And tomorrow there's going to be a dialogue with the supervisors board about the local ordinances in terms of complying with the law, and they're going to vote about an ordinance that may set up fines for those who don't comply with the health measures, such as wearing masks, organizing parties, or restaurants that may not be applying mitigating measures for individuals to eat at their establishments in a safe fashion. And it's important for people to participate at the meeting. The meeting will be at 1 p.m. There's no interpretation into Spanish, so that everyone knows what's to come. It is controversial. Even though we know our families are the most affected, we don't want them to be the most fined. But we know, though, that there's an opportunity to reduce infections, such as having parties, as well as some business or establishments that are putting people in danger. So this is that type of illness that if you get ill, you just face the challenges yourself. But no, this is different. This affects others, not just the person, and that makes this very complicated. So I invite everyone to listen in so you can find out what will be happening in this regard. And of course, the goal for the county is not to fine everyone. No, we want to educate others so that people comply with the law, so that people wear their masks, so that people don't throw large parties with more people than what is allowed. And for workers and establishments, comply with mitigation measures, not just for the safety of the clients, but also for the workers. The workers that go to those places every day in a situation that is not safe. So I welcome everyone to join us in tomorrow. They will also talk about, sorry, I didn't know that Fernando knows more about this. About time off, paid time off, or sick pay, in other words, in terms of how people or workers will receive pay, and to be able to tell them, just stay at home, you will not lose your house, your job. So that it's also something we're going to be talking tomorrow in the supervisors meeting. Angie, if you would allow me to change the topic a little bit. I mentioned this briefly, but our families don't know what's going to happen in terms of schools. There's great confusion now in terms of what will happen. I've heard families that say, I'm afraid to send my kids to school. Whereas others say, if I don't send them to school, I need to stay home. I can't work. This is very serious. And it's an urgent issue. This must be addressed. We must talk about this, because schools will be starting in 2 to 3 weeks or less even. And I tell you, many families that I'm working with, more than half of them have told me that they're not going to be sending their kids to school because they're afraid to do so. Melissa, I don't know if the county is keeping track of or creating some information in terms of education, schools. What messages are we sending out to the families in this relation? Because they're worried that the kids are falling back and falling behind at school. I know that the county is communicating with school districts in this respect, but most of the guidelines come from the state. Same thing, the state ordinances that cause the closings or shutdowns for activities indoors, for example. So these talks go much further than the county making a decision for our jurisdiction. So this requires a lot of great collaboration, and like you said, there's a lot of uncertainty in regard to how we're going to be able to support families, to make sure that there are safe conditions so they can send their kids to school, or to have support for these families that may need to stay at home with their children and, and they're not being able to do what they normally do if the kids were at school. And I would like to have an answer, to have a perfect answer for you, but the reality is that this goes much further, much out of the hands of the county in terms of what's going to happen with our children. Thank you, Sika, for bringing up this subject, because that's precisely what we're going to be talking about in a few weeks. So the next talk is going to be in relation to schooling, how it will be affecting our families, our students. We got more focus built in North Sonoma County. And the information will be shared in the next few days. And we're going to include the day, the time on Facebook. And again, we want to make sure that we address that we talk about that. In that meeting, the question that parents and families ask me is, if we don't send our children to school because we're afraid of COVID, what's going to happen to us as parents? And how are they going to help us to educate our children? Those are the two questions that they have. Thank you. Angie, also important in this conversation is daycare. So if I need to go to work, where I'm going to leave my child, what she will do with them, I cannot stay at home to watch them. So this is a very important issue that, and I'm glad they're going to be talking about this next round. Yes, I will write down these questions and make sure that we address them in our next talk, community talk. And if you are hearing or listening now or following us on Facebook at this time, if you have any questions that you would like us to address next meeting, please send us a message now or later so that we can include it in our talk. We have a Facebook question. I don't know if we already addressed that. Diana's question? Yes, we did answer. Is there anything else? We have a couple minutes left. Jasmine, we like to perhaps promote the health fair that's going to be taking place. Yes, the virtual health fair is going to take place on August 12th. You may register already so you can hear or join in which you're going to be hearing from doctors and specialists who are helping the community, and that will be a chance also to get a $50 gift card. And so please register so you can join in, and we can also send you the we're going to be sharing the website link in case you'd like to visit the page. And also for all community members, I'd like to mention that if you don't have a doctor or if you don't have a primary treating physician, you can always call up our clinic. We're helping our patients with low income. So our clinic is not charging COVID-19 testing, and we're trying to do the best possible to give results as fast as possible, helping with letters for employers, as well as helping those who are COVID positive that need to return to work after they have been isolated in place long enough and no longer are symptomatic. Thank you very much. I would like to thank everyone who have been here with us today, to panelists for sharing your experiences and resources with us. And I'd like to thank the community. But also like to remind you that if you have not filled out your census questionnaire, please do so until September 30th. That's the deadline. It's going to take 10 minutes. We get counted once every 10 years, and it's extremely important. We're talking about resources, and lack of resources is an issue because we are not being counted. So every person that doesn't get counted, we lose $1,800 because of that per person. So if you don't know what a census is, if you don't know how to fill out the questionnaire, if you don't know where to get it, call us. So call us at Corazon. We will help you fill them out. And those who are eligible to register to vote this year in California, we're going to have elections, presidential elections on November 3rd. 7.7 million Latinos are eligible to vote. So if we vote, we can create change, and our voice will be heard if we do. So if you're older than 18 years of age and you can vote, you need help registering, call us. So these two things are very important. And once again, thank you for being with us tonight. And next talk will be about COVID-19 and in relation to schooling, how our students are going to be affected. So once again, thank you very much for being here with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for the invitation.